All right, everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at some of the best sources of vitamin B12.
Oh, yeah, it's a really interesting one today.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, actually.
Yeah.
Some of these sources you might not expect, right? Like we're going to be looking at some shellfish, clams, mussels, crabs,
Right.
but then also like the more familiar dairy and eggs. So,
Yeah, some good stuff. I'm excited to dive in.
yeah. I think, well, let's jump right in, actually.
Right.
I think the shellfish is the one that caught my eye.
Right.
Like when I think of B12,
Right.
I'm not thinking about, seafood. What about you?
No, I mean, you think dairy, right? You think eggs?
Yeah.
Those are kind of the classic sources. But, yeah, shellfish, like clams, mussels, crabs, those are actually some of the best sources of B12 out there.
So like, why?
Well, it all comes down to their diet.
Okay.
So shellfish, they're filter feeders, which means they basically just like suck in water and filter out all the little tiny organisms they can eat.
Okay.
And those tiny organisms like phytoplankton and zooplankton, they're naturally rich in B12.
Phytoplankton, those are the tiny like plant things in the ocean, right?
Exactly.
So those are like B12 factories for the ocean.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
So they have this unique ability to like synthesize B12 unlike plants on land. And that B12, it travels up the food chain.
Okay.
And it ends up in your clam chowder.
Oh, okay. Wow. So all those clams and mussels, they're just like filtering up all that B12 from those little plant things.
That's exactly it.
I mean, it's pretty amazing, but to be honest, thinking about what they're filtering,
Yeah.
it's a little,
It's not the most appetizing thought.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with my B12 supplements maybe. But all right, so we've got the shellfish. What about the dairy and eggs then? Those seem a little bit more, I don't know, normal.
Yeah, definitely more familiar. But there's some things to consider there too. So the B12 content in dairy and eggs, it can actually vary quite a bit.
Not really.
Yeah. So for example, like free-range chickens, the ones that can forage for insects, right?
Right, yeah.
They tend to have higher B12 levels in their eggs.
Makes sense.
And similarly with dairy, things like grass-fed milk, fermented products like yogurt,
Okay.
they often have more B12.
That's interesting. So it's not just like all dairy and eggs are created equal.
Exactly.
You got to kind of know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me of this time. I bought this yogurt, right? And it was marketed as like super healthy, probiotics, all this stuff. And I looked at the B12 and it was like nothing.
Oh, wow.
It was all hype, basically.
Yeah, it's a good example of how, appearances can be deceiving. You really got to like read the label carefully.
Right. Just because it says it's healthy doesn't mean it's packed with B12.
Exactly.
So I guess what we've learned today is if you're looking for the B12 powerhouse, shellfish is the way to go, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
But you can still get it from dairy and eggs. You just got to be smart about it.
Yeah. Exactly. Make informed choices. Look at those labels.
Absolutely.
And this actually brings up a good question.
What's that?
Thinking about all these options, how can you optimize your B12 intake based on your own needs?
Right. Your preferences, yeah.
Do you go for the shellfish? Do you focus on specific types of dairy and eggs? It's really about finding what works for you.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, something for everyone to think about for sure.
Definitely.
All right, well, I think that about wraps it up for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you then.
All right, everyone, welcome.